Welcome back to the podcast. So I'm pretty excited today. Back in September of 2025, 8 a.m., which is formerly known as Affinipay, which is the holding company of MyCase, CasePeer, DocketWise, and LawPay, held an in-person user conference in Austin, Texas, which is where they're headquartered. And I was invited to be a panelist on 3 different sessions that were held in the 2.5-day event. Today, I'm so excited that 8 a.m. was gracious enough to send me the video from each session. And today's podcast episode is a replay of one of those sessions. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to your Profitable Law Firm podcast. I'm Kelly Brubaker, your dedicated host, passionate about empowering law firm owners. Let's dive into the hidden strategies that lead to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. This is where overwhelm transforms into confidence, enabling you to create and enjoy your dream firm and your dream life.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Helen Coyne. I'm on the product marketing team at 8 a.m. And I'm joined on stage today with my colleague, Curtis Vandergrint, Kelly Brubaker. She is a MyCase certified consultant and education partner, and April Johnson, who is a real-life SmartSpend customer. So April, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your firm, the size of your firm, and the practice areas you specialize in?
So we are a family law firm in Salt Lake City. I have 5 attorneys, 4 partners, and 1 of counsel, and me. And I do all the accounting, all of the leads, all of that to get them the information. But yeah, we're just a small family law firm. We do all aspects of family law.
And it's you and 5 attorneys?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Kelly?
So I'm Kelly Brubaker. I am a CPA. I am a fractional CFO for law firms. I've had my accounting firm for 20 years. I've specialized in law firms for at least the last 15 years. And I've seen a lot. Some we'll talk about, some we won't. But the name of my firm is Profit, Scale, Thrive. The idea behind that is I help attorneys with overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives.
Hi, everybody. My name is Curtis Vandergrint, Director of Product here at 8 a.m., focusing on solutions that essentially help our customers with cash flow, one of those being SmartSpend, which we're going to talk about. Need some help with the slide clicker.
Somebody want to sing a song while we're waiting?
Now we're going too far. A little bit of delay there.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
All right, so today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about SmartSpend. It's you may have heard that mentioned earlier today during Leslie's keynote this morning. It's an integrated credit card that is built to work with billing and expense management tools in MyCase. We're going to show you how law firms are actually already using SmartSpend today to solve 3 major financial management pain points. The first is manual expense tracking. The second is lack of spending control. So we've heard multiple stories from firms who are often sharing one card, and it's not always even a business card. It could be the partner's personal card, and that card is being shared around the office. So nobody really knows who's spending what or what they're spending on. And then the third is the lack of financial clarity. So without having real-time insights into what the firm is spending, it creates a very stressful environment, right? It can lead to poor financial business decisions, and at the end of the day, will have an adverse impact on the bottom line. So I'm going to turn it over to Curtis, who's going to take a deep dive into the first pain point of manual expense tracking.
Thanks, Helen. So talking to, can't count how many customers at this point we've talked to about this problem, including April. But we hear a lot about manual spreadsheets, chasing attorneys and other staff for paper receipts, losing track of them, looking at a credit card statement a month later, not remembering what a charge is for. And then not only are you wasting a lot of time with these things, you're also losing money. Money's falling through the cracks. It's not being billed back to clients, and you're losing revenue and therefore missing out on profitability. So we've really focused in on this problem, and those two key points, as I see it, is both saving time, saving money, or both. And April, maybe you can share a little bit about what life was like before Smart Spend and how you were sort of chasing down and tracking expenses for the firm and trying to bill them back to clients.
When I first started with the firm, they had a very antiquated way of doing things. And so there were a lot of expenses, hard expenses, that were not charged back to the clients because I didn't know who they belonged to. We had one card. It was a debit card from the bank. It was not attached to a specific person, and it wasn't a credit card that you could kind of follow where that credit was coming from. It was just directly out of the bank account. And a month later, I'm asking all 5 attorneys who charged it, where, when, all of that, because it wouldn't show anything on our bank statement because it was just a debit. Now with Smart Spend, they each have their own card. I know exactly who spent it. They've been pretty well trained. And so they will now attach it. I don't have to track anyone down. If I do need to track something down, it's really quick because I know exactly what attorney didn't add the receipt or attach the client. So it saves tons of time.
And Kelly, maybe you can talk about the impact on firms in general with clients that you've worked with related to the mismanagement of this or lack of visibility into some of these expenses and not getting reimbursed, especially when they're client costs.
Yeah, so we've already mentioned costs. If you can't track what case they're for or what client they're for, you end up not billing it back. But to take that one step further, I mean, we've had a couple webinars on this, so we've affectionately nicknamed this profit leakage, and that's disgusting on purpose because I want you to be like, oh, that's horrible, because it is. If you can't track the spending, and you can't bill it back to the client, then your firm just lost profit. So it directly impacts your bottom line. I mean, and for those who don't know, I'm here because I made some snarky comment a couple years ago on LinkedIn about Smart Spend, and Curtis set me straight. And
you make it sound like I did something wrong.
So, well, it was actually Gabby who was like, can we take this offline? I felt like I was getting called to the principal's office. But Curtis, in 2 minutes, we were laughing, and then we've just had this amazing, relationship since then. But because I've been in the situation, so I'm a CPA, and I used to do billing for firms, but now I'm, higher level, but I still see it. You have a witness fee, and maybe you have somebody who's a witness on 2 different matters, and for whatever reason you paid it and didn't mark down which the cases were, but they might have 3 cases, and you're like, oh crap, I don't know who to bill that back to. So now you just paid it and you don't have a client to bill it back to because you can't prove to the client what that was for. Or even depositions is a big one I see. You have a depot, you either rent rent office space or go to a conference room or whatever. You have a bill for that, and you're like, oh gosh, what was that for? And you just don't bill it back, and it terrifies me to see that. I literally want to cry when a cost does not get billed back to a client that should be.
So let's talk a little bit about how we're solving this with Smart Spend now and how it's changed things for April. One of them is that every time a purchase is made on one of the cards within the firm, you're immediately notified. So you get real-time notifications, which can be text message to your phone, prompting you to fill out some information and immediately link it to that case. When you do that, not only are you now tracking who it was for, that immediately creates that expense inside of my case and will show up on the next invoice when you generate it. So no more worrying about forgetting it 30 days later or seeing a charge on a statement. Now you have confidence that this will be on the next invoice, and you have that trail of all of the expenses that you'll be charging to a client. You can see up here the image of the new 8 a.m. card. Today, this is the LawPay Visa card, but we are very excited about transitioning that soon to the 8 a.m. card as part of our company branding. So you will also see on the little animation on the screen here, you can mark it as billable or non-billable. Maybe you want to have visibility to the client that you incurred this cost on their behalf and you're not charging them for it, or you actually do want to be reimbursed, you can do that. We also have integration with My Case Accounting, So you can actually categorize these expenses in the moment to various general ledger codes that you have that are custom to your business, really helping to close the books at the end of each month. But this is sort of the key thing, is that real-time visibility and prompting you to make sure that nothing is missed, everything is getting onto the invoice when you are dealing with client costs and want to be reimbursed. So with that, maybe April, you can talk about how you're doing this now, how you're linking expenses, and sort of the transition you've seen with your firm now that staff have their own cards.
The transition has been great. I went from spending 20 hours a week just trying to track down expenses and figure out which case they went and which attorney. And now my attorneys, they charge something at the courthouse while they're there. It immediately sends them that text message. They take a picture of their receipt, link it to the case, and it's done. So when I go to do billing, it's already there. I don't have to try and track down the expenses like I've been doing every week. Now I just kind of wait for it to come on the end. I can always jump in there at any time and just double check that everything's being entered. I do have one old school attorney, and he just sends me his receipts. He still uses WordPerfect. So he's old school, but he just will send me his receipts because he doesn't want to do something he doesn't already know how to do. And he wants to focus on his cases. But at least I get the receipts now where I didn't before.
And it's saving you time not only from tracking down, but the data entry part too.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the one that would kill me. When I was doing billing for different law firms, I'm like, oh my God, I have to sit and type every single thing, date, vendor, amount with the case, all that. So for someone to take less than 30 seconds and do it at the point of sale, and do it, it just feeds it right in. And then it's for you, you can go through and just review, is it billable, should it be billable?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more of a review, it's just so much less time.
Well, and it's simply just doing the little toggle that it's a client expense. And then you click on the case it is and the client it is, and it just automatically puts it all there. So you don't miss anything, which we were missing a lot.
And on that point, could you talk a little bit about the process of transitioning the staff, getting them up to speed, issuing them cards? What was that process like?
So issuing cards, it did need to be the firm owners that had to apply for the cards. But once we got the cards done, I could go in and I would just link it to their MyCase account, and it's their same login. You don't have to have another login to remember. And I issued the amounts that we had for each attorney on what their spending limit was. And then we also just took it, and I have 3 physical cards, which is to the 2 main partners and me. So if we need to actually have a card for an expense, everybody else has a virtual card. I was able to add it to, in Utah, they have, it's called green filing, is where we file all our court documents. So each of their names is linked to their own accounts. So as soon as they do a filing fee, it comes right to them. Like I said, I have one attorney that's a little old school. He was a little bit harder to train, but my newer attorneys, my younger attorneys, it was the same day. They did it just fine. And it just sends them that email. It's great.
And they were able to pick it up right away.
Oh, so easy.
Awesome. Thank you. So now I'm going to pass it over to Helen. April talked a little bit about card issuing, and Helen's going to touch on that.
Yeah, thank you, April. It's a great segue to talk about the second financial management pain point, which is lack of control of spending. So Smart Spend allows firms to take control of their spending. So the reality is that lack of visibility into who's spending what and what they're spending on and why in a firm really often leads to budget overruns and creates major cash flow headaches for a lot of firms. So without oversight or controls in place, purchases can be made that might not be in budget for that month, and in reality, that may not even be an actual case or firm expense that should be on the card. And Kelly has plenty of horror stories about that particular data point. So in all of this lack of control, and we've heard this through, again, Curtis mentioned our multiple customer calls, it just unwelcomed end-of-month financial surprises. We've heard that term a couple times. So I know, April, you talked a little bit about how you were able to issue cards virtually and physically with SmartSpend. What did the old process look like for you when you had to procure a new card for someone at your firm?
So when I started at the firm, it took us 3.5 hours at the bank to get me on the account. It had to take one of my main partners take time out of his day to go to the bank to add me, and it was a 3.5 hour long process. I had one attorney that's been with the firm for 3 years, and she just still didn't have a credit card because there was never time that one of the main partners and her didn't have something going on to be able to go to the bank and to spend that 3.5 hours to try and get put onto the account. And with SmartSpend, it's me as the business manager typing in their name and saying, issue card, and that's it.
Have you ever had a situation where you had to deactivate a former staff member with the traditional card? And what was that process?
Well, we had the old business manager before I started, and in order to deactivate that, there again, I had to pull one of the main 2 attorneys from the firm, from their job, to go down to the bank to remove her off of that card. Took us about an hour and a half to go through all the paperwork that Wells Fargo had to fill out. And then I had a staff member that left her purse at a restaurant. Now that we have SmartSpend, this was great. She left her purse at the restaurant. She just called me and said, I lost my purse. I don't know where it is. I was immediately able to go into SmartSpend and suspend her card. She called around. She found her purse. We kept her suspended for about 5 days to see if any charges would come. Nothing did, so I was able just to click the button and turn her card back active again. I didn't have to go to the bank. We didn't have to reissue cards. It was so simple versus if I lose my credit card or my credit card gets stolen, and now all of a sudden you don't have a credit card for the 2 weeks while the bank processes it to reissue a card to you. And this was so simple.
Awesome, thank you. Kelly, how have you seen your clients struggle with budgeting and cash flow issues?
Well, one, I had this client years ago that it was 3-partner firm, and the one partner was a wine aficionado. And I swear to God, every week I'm seeing a case of wine being ordered online. And I'd have to go, John, where are we billing this back? Oh, I'm giving it to clients. I'm like, bullshit. But like we had the same conversation every week. So it was a little frustrating. But then the other partners aren't looking at the credit card statement, so they're not seeing that the wine, cases of wine are coming in constantly. I mean, we're talking a couple $100, which for one shipment, I'm good, but when you're doing this every week, that adds up over the course of a firm. To me, it was complete abuse that he was doing it, but when the other partners are not paying it, because they're like, oh, Kelly has it, and I'm like, yeah, I have it, but you're not looking at the detail. So that gets a little frustrating. Whereas with SmartSpend, you have the ability that you go right in and you can see it. So, any of the partners can go in and see what's being spent. The other side of it, in addition to what you're actually spending or what people in the firm are spending, they're using their card for, the old school way of waiting for the statement to come in the mail. Now you have a whole month of activity, and then you get the credit card statement, and you didn't realize how much people were spending. So you might have a corporate limit, like if you have corporate cards, you might have a corporate limit of $30,000, and then you've allocated so much of that per card. And then if you're not paying attention, like if you're not looking every day or every week, and you don't realize, oh my God, everybody maxed out their card this month, and you didn't have the cash flow. Like, what if this is your money, we're happy to celebrate, the holidays at the end of the year, but oh, by the way, we didn't have very high billables, and so we got to wait to get the January billing out, and then it's low anyways, and so now cash flow is tight, right, in January. And oh, by the way, we had $30,000 we owed on a credit card, and you're like, where's the money coming from? So then you don't pay it, because you don't, like, it's just uneven cash flow. And sometimes you just can't help it. I get that. But when you're not expecting it and can't help it, that's a whole, that's an issue.
Yeah, I guess that's why we've heard that term, end of month financial surprises.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for that. So we're going to talk about now how Smart Spend solves that particular pain point, right, with control. And it's control, it's twofold. So one is you have control of the account, like as April was just telling those stories, like she needs to issue a card, she can do that on the fly. I think you even told me a story where when the newest attorney started, right? We had that one woman who had to wait for 2 years, but you were able to give him purchasing power on day one because you could issue him a virtual card. So you instantly issue virtual physical cards to staff. You can give each card its own separate spend limit. So instead of everybody sharing the $130,000 corporate spend limit, you can give Kelly $500, we'll give Curtis $2,000, we'll give April $2,000, and you can adjust that on the fly. So if Curtis was traveling, he needed a little bit more money, you could adjust his spend limit accordingly. And again, as April talked about earlier, she's already used this feature, so you also have the ability to immediately lock or pause a card. You don't need to call the bank. You don't have to worry about if you find the card, now you have a new card on the way, now you have to change cards, you have to change that number and all your subscriptions wherever you've used that card number. So you can do that yourself. And then you can see exactly, and you'll see it a little bit more when Curtis starts talking about the visibility, but you can see exactly at any time, go into My Case, see exactly what's being spent on which card, who's spending it, and what they're spending it on. And you can also see if it's related to a case and if the receipt has been linked to that case.
Yeah, we like to talk a lot about trust but verify. So you have visibility into who's spending what on their card, and you can actually allocate every transaction and see which card was charged, rather than the guesswork with a shared card of, I don't know who actually spent this, and now I have to chase everybody down and interrogate them. So you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but...
Oh, yeah, so you did. So I did have a question about onboarding. So I guess, could you describe that situation in a little more detail about how you onboarded the new attorney with card?
Yeah, simply, we had all of her information as from just the normal onboarding with the firm, what she would need to have. You put in her social security number, you put in her name and her email address, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so again, so you can control the account and you can control the spending, which I love. Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about how you think having this kind of control would help your clients stay financially protected?
Well, the one thing that you didn't mention yet that is one thing I love is the category limits. Meaning, if you issue a card to a staff, you can go in and say, this card is never allowed to purchase gas. Because I have a client that will just randomly buy things with the wrong card. And we're constantly going back and forth with this. And I'm like, dude, seriously, I don't know how many more times you can use the wrong card. But you can go through by category and say, and the categories are by, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the self-reported by the vendor, right? So the vendor, when they applied for their merchant account, said, I am a retail store, I am a gas station, which is partly why Costco has the two, there's the gas Costco versus the Costco in-store. So you can go in by category. I love that because then you can hand it to anybody in the firm, and I don't want to single out any particular position, but in case somebody has a physical card, it just is nice that they can't use it for things that you just know they should just never be using, right? Or because we can do things on the fly, we can go in and say, oh yeah, you're going to be traveling overnight, you're driving 2 hours away, I'll let you go ahead and do gas, I personally would prefer mileage, but that's a whole other issue. But no, just having the ability to, to be able to shut off a card right away for whatever reason, whether it's a suspend the card or shut it off. I mean, I've been at client locations where somebody was terminated and it was not pretty. It never is, right? And just to know when they're walking out the door, I'm not having to chase down a credit card. Like, I don't care. You can take it with you. I don't care what you do with it because I shut it off like right now, and there's just no damage you can do at that point. So, which we would never want to do that, right? But
I think that's two key pieces. Is one is being able to adjust the spend limit on each card on the fly, and also being able to lock or unlock the card at any point.
Yeah, so, spend control and accurate real-time expense tracking, it does more than just save time and alleviate headaches, right? It also has a significant impact on a firm's bottom line. So Curtis, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. The third thing that we talk about is sort of financial visibility and being able to make better business decisions. So we've talked about seeing who spends what, how much they're spending, whether that's by staff person and the card that they're using, or by different categories of spending. Maybe we're overspending on marketing and we weren't expecting it, things like that. With Smart Spend now, like the challenge that we're addressing is all of these disparate systems. People are doing things in spreadsheets, and there's a different software tool over here, and I'm looking at this thing here, and it's all over the place rather than one central place that gives us the full picture of where our money is going on a day-to-day basis, let alone a week-to-week or month-to-month. And so maybe, April, you can give us an example of some of the challenges before Smart Spend and inappropriate spending there, or the lack of visibility that you had.
Yeah, so with the normal cards, how our firm works is that all of the attorneys buy their own equipment. It's theirs. If they leave, they can take it with them. But it's not a firm cost. It's an employee or an attorney cost. And so, I don't get told anything. I don't get told that they're going to go and buy an Adobe subscription. And I had one partner that bought an Adobe subscription for the entire firm. But all of our attorneys have their own Adobe subscriptions. So it's like, no, that's your cost. So of course she went and changed that, because I'm like, no, you have to pay that. That's not a firm cost. Because she was thinking that by buying it for the firm, that would be a firm cost versus her individual cost. I had another one go out and buy furniture for her office and a few other things. So for her furniture, again, that's her attorney costs, and her few other things, again, that's her cost out of her attorney account. So I'm out of the amount she's going to get paid each month, and it's not coming out of my operating budget.
That's what I was going to say. This is the debit card coming out of the operating account,
Yep.
taking real cash out of the firm.
Yeah, and if they haven't made the money to pay that, that's a problem.
Kelly, maybe you can touch on just the challenges firms face with lack of visibility and not knowing where things are going on a day-to-day basis.
yeah, I mean, when you don't have online account access, well, even when you do, I guess, so if I jump on my phone and log into my bank account, and I can see the balance, and obviously you can go through the transactions, but when you see, okay, yes, I'm a CPA, I love numbers, but even for me to go in and look at a credit card statement, you're like, all the numbers going down the screen, and then if you have the statement you're looking at online, it goes, 3 pages, and you're not thinking through all the stuff, where Smart Spend it's helping you categorize visually. So graphs, pie charts and bar, you see things just differently. It's the same information, but just differently. And you're like, oh, like for me, I have a lot of clients that when they do depots, they'll bring in a transcription person. And I can go and look at it and say, I look at things different. Somebody might use they might use firm ABC because that's their favorite person, and then somebody else uses XYZ and that's their favorite person. But I could start going through and I'm looking at, like, from my perspective, I'm looking at the bills and I'm saying, well, wait a minute, not necessarily that I want to go cheap, but are we getting, like, is this, if there are 2 different prices and like way different, why are they different? Is it because this depot was only an hour but this one was 5? So, like, I just look at things differently. Smart Spend's giving me the information to be able to look at things differently without thinking as much.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about sort of the immediacy of linking expenses to cases, making sure that you're getting billed back, you're not forgetting it at the end of the billing cycle. We've talked about spend controls with issuing cards and setting custom spend limits. What we also have with Smart Spend is real-time visibility. Where is all the money going across various things? And so you can see by cardholder who's spending what. You can see by category or by merchant where the money's going. And this is in real time. You can also see we have a monthly forecast. So how are you trending this month compared to what you were spending last month? Am I on track? Am I over budget? Do I need to allocate right now and change direction and maybe not do a certain expense this month that can wait? So what we're really trying to do here is give firms visibility in real time so they can adjust and make better business decisions, like I mentioned. You'll also see here on the screen visibility into which transactions have already been linked to a case. So like April has talked about, I know that that charge was for a case. It hasn't been linked yet. Either I can go and do it myself, or I can have the attorney and hound them to follow up and make sure that it gets linked, because I know that that needs to be reimbursed. And right now it's not linked and won't be on the next invoice. So this really allows you to have that real-time visibility day to day, ensuring that you're maximizing the revenue coming back to the firm and increasing your profitability. The other key thing is that this does link with My Case Accounting. So if you are a My Case Accounting customer, that further integrates and streamlines that process of closing the books and making sure things are categorized appropriately to the appropriate ledger lines that they should be. And so with that, maybe, April, you can talk about how you've benefited from sort of the real-time visibility into seeing who's spending what and some of the categories of what's being spent, and how that's helped you sort of contain or control how the firm is spending the money.
So with how our firm is, we do use the accounting software with My Case, which I love, but everything is already categorized just how you have it in your chart of accounts. So if it's not an attorney or a client cost and you charge something, we put in a description. So if it's office supplies, it better not say office supplies. It better tell me that it is legal pads and pens and this, whatever it is. That's how I've trained my attorneys to fill it out. I need to know what was purchased, not just it's office supplies. So I have that data, and then also it's already attached to my chart of accounts. So I don't have to go back in and say, oh, this is moving costs, and this is office supplies, and this is benefits, or whatever we've paid with it, or even our rent. We use it to pay our rent. And so I can already have that categorized as it goes in. And we do pay off our card at the end of the month so that we don't have any of the finance charges for an unpaid balance. But yeah, it's amazing because everything is tracked now, where before, when I started at the firm, who knew what was happening, where the money was going, or if it was a client or an attorney fee or a firm fee, and now it's so simple to see it.
And Kelly, maybe you can talk about that real-time visibility and budgeting and just maximizing cash flow, and how you're helping firms with something like Smart Spend and what they can see now.
Yeah, so I like definitely the forecasting part of it, because no matter how long your firm's been in business, there's cycles to everything, right? So just because you might have had this amazing July, August might be I mean, and it all depends on what your practice area is and where you're located and stuff like that. And sometimes it's personal work schedule. I know, like, I'm a single mom, so I try to work less in the summers so I can be with my kids, although they're teens and the oldest drives, and I was not needed, which was actually kind of amazing this summer, but I'm not gonna lie. But just having, the visibility, just seeing, like, this is what's happening in my firm. We're not guessing. And the forecast, it's, forecast is not, actual what happened, but it's educated. It's a trend. It's what's happened. And so to the best of its ability, Smart Spend can tell you where you're heading, which then gives you the ability to say, like Curtis said, don't buy this specific thing this month, or now you have the green light, go ahead, you have extra credit, you can go ahead and pay this, because you'll be able to pay it off when the credit card statement comes due. So I just like the real-time aspect to it, that you can just look when you need to. That's the other part of it. Because I know I'll have clients that will email me at 2 a.m. I'm asleep, hopefully. But to be able to just log in, it just, like, it's on your mind. Whatever, I'm thinking of this question, you can just log in right away and you can see what's going on, so whenever it's on your mind.
And so maybe just quickly we can finish up with each of you sharing, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend Smart Spend to somebody, and why?
I know for me, that's like 100 out of 1 to 10. I'm actually jealous as a CPA. I can't get my case, and that's the requirement to be on Smart Spend. I'm like, can you make an exception? I'll log into my.
We're working
I'll
on
use,
that.
I know I did. I heard that at lunch today. That actually tickled me. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. So yeah, no, I love the information, and not only the information, but how it's presented, because it's a couple different ways. And so if you're not a numbers person, you're probably a visual person, and it has both ways that you can look at different information, the same information, different ways.
Thank you. What about you, April?
So 110%. So I am a big advocate of Smart Spend, simply because it doesn't matter if you are a 1-attorney firm or like mine that has the 5 attorneys, or you have 10 or 15 or 20. This is a solution that works, and it simplifies, and you can see every dollar that's spent, where it goes, and it's categorized for you automatically. You don't miss those expenses, client expenses, whether it's the $15 recording fee, the $383 petition fee, whatever it is, you're not missing those hard costs. But also for the firm itself, you see where every dollar goes, and it's simple, it's easy. You can do it on your phone, you can on the go, you can do it on your computer. It's just a great product that I am so thankful that I have, because it has seriously gave me a lot more time to do all the other stuff I have to, because this is one thing I don't have to worry about anymore.
And you don't have to think about, oh my God, I have a receipt, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Because it sends you a text message. It sends the card holder a text message. This transaction just processed. And in 2025, that almost hits immediately these days. So you could be, you just take a client out to lunch and charge, and then, oh, they're getting a text message.
Yeah.
And so they're doing it in real time. It's not sitting down at the end of the week saying, pull, on my purse, all the receipts I had for the week. So it's real time. It's when it's top of mind that you have that information.
Well, and you don't have to have it, because a lot of things you can't put in there when it's pending still. But with Smart Spend, it's like literally you charge it, you can put everything in there, and it doesn't have to wait to process through the bank. So you're not holding on to that and losing receipts. So
Well, thank you for sharing, both of you. I really appreciate it. Just to wrap up, we've talked a lot about sort of the benefits, both time savings and financial savings that come with using a solution like Smart Spend. You're able to capture every expense and have that peace of mind that it's not lost and it's going to be on the next invoice. You can take control and issue virtual or physical cards to your staff, set custom spend limits, and have that confidence that there's not some misspending or overspending when there shouldn't be, and really helping with that month-to-month cash flow. And finally, you're getting a full financial picture and helping you to make better business decisions on the fly based on how spending is going this month. So with that, thank you, everybody. Just want to highlight, we have more here. If you want to learn more about Smart Spend, you can scan the QR code. This is available for any MyCase customer today. And with that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how we are with time, but are there any questions? Happy to answer some.
I want to know what you're doing with your 20 hours.
All the things that weren't being done.
well, lately it's been moving the firm twice, and I'm dealing with building issues still right now.
Yes, here.
You mentioned it integrates with MyCase accounting. Does it also integrate with a third-party ledger like QuickBooks?
So we have a full QuickBooks export. So it's not integrated, but you have the ability to export all of your transactions with the categorization and import it directly into QuickBooks if you're using QuickBooks for your accounting.
And by export, do you mean press a button, or is it not a CSV file?
Yeah, it's export a CSV file that you then import into QuickBooks. But it's as simple, and we have a custom QuickBooks export, making that directly importable within minutes. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Hey, before you go, grab my new book, Plugging the Leaks, 10 Ways Lawyers Waste Money and Simple Fixes. It's a quick read, plain English, packed with checklists, templates, the 7 to 60-day collections escalator, and the Core 4 dashboard. So you can keep more of every dollar you earn. Now, you can order the paperback or Kindle on Amazon, or you can download it for free, the PDF format, using the link in the show notes below. Remember that profit is something you intentionally plan for in the beginning. It's not a potential bonus at the end of the year. Thanks for listening.